Hi, my name's Jeff. We're at Calgary Cycle today, and I'm going to be showing you how to do a rear derailleur adjustment. So today what we're going to do is we're going to do a rear derailleur adjustment, just something basic, simple to start off with. So what we're going to do, since this is in for just a basic tune-up, I'm just going to take this cable and get it off loosely. So we got 3 screws in the back of a rear derailleur, and for a couple different functions. We have your B tension screw, which is generally at the top. It pushes against the derailleur hanger. What that does is it sets your gap between your low gear in the rear cassette and the top pulley here of the rear derailleur. Then we've got your high, which is at the top of this one, and your low limit screw. If you're not sure which one's which, they're always marked with an H or an L. So we're going to start with the high. Now, if you're not sure, basically I'll sit my Phillips head screwdriver. Some of them will be a hex key, so just pay attention to what the actual screw is. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lightly pedal the bike, and you can hear that clicking. So that means it's actually not centered. So what we want to do is a couple things. We want to back off that screw just a little bit, keep pedaling lightly until you don't hear any of that clicking. What you're looking for is, if you're looking at your rear derailleur and cassette from the back side, what you're looking for is the teeth on your highest cog of your cassette to line up with the center of the teeth on the top and lower of your pulley. You should basically be able to draw an invisible line so everything lines up perfectly. So you can also do that by sound. Like I said, that was me backing off the screw. So now it's nice and quiet. I'm just going to take a quick peek here, and if you look straight down, yeah, she's nice and lined up. You can also take a look at where your pulley lands on some of the bushings on the actual chain itself. It should line up dead center of those bushings. So from there, what I'm going to do is, in this case, it's a 5mm Allen key and my barrel adjuster. What I'm going to do is I'm pulling this tight, so I want to dial this all the way in to reset my cable tension. So once this is bottomed out on your derailleur, back this out a couple turns so that you have a little bit of room to back off cable tension if you happen to pull it too tight. So now I've done that, I'm going to pull my cable through, take my Allen key, and I'm going to cinch this down. Just lightly. You don't want to over tighten the cable because you don't want it to splay, you don't want it to start to come apart. That's when cables tend to snap, break in the middle of a ride, and that's just no fun. So I've got that tightened. So now I'm going to start running through my gears, shifting up into my lowest. Now you can hear a little bit of clicking, so that means my cable is actually a little too tight. So I'm going to back off just a notch. As you turn these barrel adjusters, you'll feel little clicks. Depending on the manufacturer, there'll be 1/8 of a turn, 1/4 of a turn, depends on what it is. So back it off just a little bit, and I'm going to keep shifting up. Now as I get close to the lowest cog in the rear, I'm going to shift very slowly just in case my limit screw isn't set properly. What you don't want is that screw not to be set and it goes into the wheel. So if anything, before you get to that point, what I would suggest doing, taking your low limit, dial it in just a little bit. That's going to give you just enough security and safety so that when you do go and shift, it's a little harder, but you don't run the risk of overshifting and dropping it behind the cassette into the wheel. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my screwdriver in there, and I'm just going to back that off, doing the same thing I did to the high. as I'm doing in the low. So I'm just backing that off until it feels smooth, sounds smooth, and like the high, what I want is to be able to draw an invisible line nice and clean through the low and through the pulleys. I'm also going to take a visual inspection of that and make sure that my upper pulley and lower pulley are running nice and dead center of that chain. That basically indicates where you should be. So once that is adjusted, I'm going to pedal through and make sure all the shifting is working properly. What you want is you want it to shift down just as nice as it shifts up. If it tends to shift faster going into your low speed on the way up than it does down, that means you've got a little too much cable tension, so you'll want to back that off just a hair. Everything should sound nice and crisp, and that's it. You are done, ready to ride. The other thing I would suggest doing, bikes do tend to shift a little differently in a repair stand than they do while someone's riding the bike. So make sure to test ride your bike and ride it around the block, run through all the gears, make sure everything is shifting properly. You will have one of these barrel adjusters on most shifters up front. So this is actually something you can adjust while you're riding. And there you have it.